They know the feeling before they name it. The moment the door opens, the air thickens. The noise doesn't arrive all at once. It stacks. Footsteps, voices, music leaking from somewhere unseen. Too many movements happening at once. Their body reacts before their mind does. Shoulders tense, breathing shortens, awareness sharpens. This is a crowd. And for them, this is not neutral ground. They don't hate people. That's the first misunderstanding. They hate compression. Too many bodies sharing too little space. Too many intentions colliding without consent. Crowds erase distance, and distance is how they think. When they enter a crowded place, they don't scan for friends. They scan for exits. Not because they're afraid of danger, but because their nervous system values escape routes. Freedom isn't about leaving. It's about knowing you can. As a child, they may have noticed it early. School assemblies that felt endless. Birthday parties that became overwhelming halfway through. Public transport that made their chest tighten for reasons they couldn't explain. Adults said, "You'll get used to it." They didn't. They learned to manage it instead. Psychologically, people who hate crowded places often have high sensory sensitivity. Their brains don't filter input aggressively. They take in everything. Every voice, every movement, every shift in energy. Where others experience noise as background, they experience it as data. Too much data, too fast. In crowds, attention is constantly pulled outward. Eyes jump, ears track conversations that aren't meant for them. The body adjusts repeatedly to avoid collisions. There is no rest. For some minds, that constant adjustment is exhausting. They don't feel energized by collective excitement. They feel drained by unpredictability. Crowds are chaotic systems. No clear rules, no consistent rhythm, no control. And control, for them, is safety. This doesn't mean they're anxious in all areas of life. In fact, many of them are calm decision makers, focused, observant, composed under pressure. Because pressure with structure is manageable. Pressure without structure is not. There's often an inner world behind this trait. They think deeply. They notice patterns. They reflect. Crowds interrupt that internal continuity. Their thoughts scatter. It feels like being pulled out of oneself. They often choose seating carefully. Corners, walls, edges. Not because they want to hide, but because boundaries matter. Boundaries give orientation. Orientation gives calm. In crowded conversations, they listen more than they speak. Not from shyness, but from processing load. By the time they form the thoughts, the topic has already shifted. So they wait. Silence to them is not absence, it's regulation. Many people who hate crowds value depth over breadth. One conversation over 10. One presence over many. One clear signal over constant noise. Crowds flatten experience. They prefer texture. Socially, they're often misread. Antisocial, cold, distant. But watch them one-on-one. They're warm, engaged, attentive. They give you their full attention because there's room for it. Their dislike of crowds is not rejection. It's selectivity. Energy is finite. They spend it intentionally. There's also an element of embodied memory. Past moments where crowds meant danger, confusion, or loss of control, even small ones, can shape preference. The body remembers even when the mind moves on. Crowds compress identity. You become a body navigating bodies. For people who value autonomy, this feels erasing. They prefer spaces where individuality can breathe. Interestingly, many of them love cities, but on their terms. Early mornings, quiet streets, off hours. They enjoy the presence of people without the pressure of proximity. They often plan ahead, timing visits strategically, choosing less popular routes, leaving early. This isn't avoidance, it's design. They design their lives to support their nervous systems. There's a quiet confidence in that. They don't force themselves into discomfort just to appear normal. They trust their internal signals. That trust took time to build. As they grow older, this trait becomes clearer, not weaker. They stop apologizing. They stop explaining. They understand that comfort isn't laziness, it's sustainability. In a culture that celebrates packed venues and loud energy, they choose something else. Space, clarity, presence. So when you see someone step away from a crowd, don't assume fear, assume awareness. Assume someone who knows where their edges are and respects them, because people who hate crowded places aren't running from the world. They're protecting how they experience it. And then a world that keeps getting louder, faster, and tighter, that might not be a weakness at all. It might be wisdom.